What is up? What is up? What is up, CSGs? How y'all boys doing? We made it through another season, bro. Another year. 41 and 41 for your Rockets. Really can't complain right now, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. I really hoping that we could make the play in, but that did not happen. So we just have to do what we got, which is a good, successful season. Got the wins. I think the win totals were higher than we thought they were going to be for this year, honestly. Where, we saw a lot of growth within our players, and we just kind of just missed the mark just because the West is such a beast this year. So, not too, I'm not too down about that. I think that when you look at how you want this season to be graded, you have to do it kind of on a curve, and you have to keep in context of everything that the Rockets have been through to get to this point, and then kind of the changes that happened during the season, right? So, do want this to be a conversation. I'm gonna do my opening monologue, then I'm gonna invite y'all to come up and speak, so we can, have a little end of the year town hall. But once again, the Rockets finished 41 and 41. I mean, that's a 19 game increase from last year in 2022 2023. Finished in the top 10 defense, which I think is the most impressive thing about this year. Also, was able to have breakout performances from Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green towards the end of the year. You look at Amen Thompson as a rookie, um, bursting on the scene as a defensive just menace. And Coach Udoka just showing like he is a coach that can coach young guys, as he was able to coach a team to a championship. Obviously, if you look at the goals for the team to start the year, I think they wanted to make the playoffs. I was watching the post game after the game with the Clippers. The Rockets did their it's like the exit interviews with the media, and a lot of the comments the guys really emphasized on their goal to start the year. We wanted to make the playoffs. We wanted to make the playoffs. We wanted to make the playoffs, but it didn't happen. But they still were able to get to a win total that they thought might have been able to get them there. Just the West obviously being brutal. There's so many teams. You look at the Lakers and the Warriors are teams that are going to be in the play-in with the likes of LeBron and Steph Curry. But this year was a roller coaster, guys. We started off 3 game losses. Then I think we won 6 in a row. Then we lost. Then we won. Then we had a nice stretch where we were winning most of our games, and we hit that wall at the end of December into January. Their legs left them. Team crashed out for about a month, and I think that stretch, and it correlates with what's his name's getting injured, Dylan Brooks. I think went down during that point. You had, I think Fred went down at some point, but that stretch of games is really what kind of did us in on the postseason run. But overall, I would say that this year was, to me, in my opinion, if you look at it from a developmental standpoint, it was a success. If you look at it from a meaningful, like developing meaningful games, playing in meaningful games, trying to see what your guys can do in a certain situation, it was a success. I also look at it from the fact that you were able to kind of turn around some of the weaknesses that we thought with these players, especially being on defense. We were the worst transition team in the NBA last year. In the past 3 years, the 2 years ago, we had the worst transition defense in NBA history. History. In the 77 years of the NBA, I think the 2021-22 Rockets had the worst transition defense in NBA history. This year, I think we were top 5 in transition defense. So you got to look at the little victories. But, I mean, we can go down to players, starting off Cam Whitmore, I would say from the start of the year to the end of the year, Cam definitely improved. Obviously has a long way to go. Like the problem with Cam right now, his issues are just seeing the game from a big picture point of view. He usually, his job is to go score, right? He's a bucket. He is a guy that kind of like he has one task: go get a bucket. And you hope he plays good defense. You hope he like stays within the flow of the context of the team. But in that task, he improved over time, like especially some of the passing. Now, he still is a tunnel vision guy, but I think if you just look at him from what the job the team is asking him to do, which is go score, you did a pretty damn good job. The problem with what he needs to work on going forward is going to be, can he expand his game out to not just scoring, but impacting the game at different levels? There was a lot of comparison between Cam and Jalen this year. People advocated for Cam to start. Cam doesn't play like a starter. He plays like a bench guy because he just does that one thing, bucket. To play at the starting level, you got to do multiple things. And I think the comparison between him and Jalen are a bit unfair because Jalen is being asked to do way more. Jalen is being asked to facilitate. Jalen is being asked to actually carry the team, to make the right reads, make the right plays, to be part of the offensive like identity of the team. Whereas Cam was just asked to go score. If you ask Jalen to go score, he doesn't have to play good defense. He doesn't have to rebound. He doesn't have to pass the ball. I'm sure he could have, he probably wouldn't be as efficient because Cam is just a bigger player and a better shooter. But you guys get what I'm saying. So, but I think Cam he had a good development, reverted a little bit, came back a little bit. Typical rookie stuff. Amen Thompson, he's the one, bro. Amen is the guy. I think Amen is a player that intrigues me. You guys know in all my ranks, I always put him as one of our top players. The reason I do that is because two things. IQ. I'm very big on basketball IQ, and I think he has it on both ends of the court. The other thing for Amen Thompson is going to be the physical attribute, like his stature. As good as Şengün, you guys know I love me some Alperen Şengün. He's undersized for his position. Jalen Green is undersized for his position. Amen Thompson is the one guy we have on the roster that for his position, he is a bigger, stronger, faster athlete than most of the players in the NBA. When you pair that with IQ, that can get you into a stratosphere of player. Not saying he's going to get there. He has a lot of holes in his game, different things he needs to work on, ball handling, shooting, blah, 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 blah. But just off of just the way his game is built, his body is built, the way he moves, his stature, the dude's upside is crazy. It's crazy. I don't count these, he's a rookie, so he's beating up on G League players against the Clippers. But some of the games towards this year, some of the things he's done from start of the year to now, his ball handling has improved, attacking and closeouts, getting downhill, finishing. His free throws is like, I get shocked when he misses free throws now. That is such a huge development for a player that can't shoot to be able to get to the free throw line and hit it with confidence. You guys see what happened with Ben Simmons, right? You've seen Ben Simmons in the playoffs, scared to get to the line. As the guy that can't shoot, what that does to you, you're scared to drive, you're scared to attack the basket, and guess what? That makes you useless. I don't see that problem with Amen Thompson. Those are two separate players. So I think he had a great year. I think Amen had the best year of all the rookies that we've had up to this point in the core six. He's had the best rookie season out of all of them and had the biggest impact on winning, even above Tari Eason, because Tari, as impactful as Tari was, he was doing it on a trash team, right? Amen was doing this on a winning team. So I'm going to go with him. Who's next? Let's see. Tari Eason, pending, missed a lot of this year due to injury, so really hard to gauge. He was playing hurt. Even when he was playing, he was hurt. So I really can't say much about what Tari. I expect more development for him. The three ball needs to get a little more consistent, but I would love to see what him and Thompson look like together next to each other as they go forward. You also, Jabari. I think Jabari from last year, like from the team that was here before Udoka, I personally think Jabari had the biggest leap out of everybody just because he was so bad last year. If you guys don't remember, there was a good 3 month stretch where Jabari was the worst player in the NBA, like literally, statistically the worst player in the NBA. And if you heard him in a post-game conference with the media, the exit interview with the media today, Jabari just said, when they asked him about what is something that, he helps with Cam and the men on, he just says how lucky, he kept on saying it. They don't understand how lucky they are to have the coaches and the vets they have. He said, man, these guys are lucky. He kept on saying how lucky they are. Little jabs at the old regime, but it is the fact that he was able to make it through what he went through last season under Stephen Silas to being a player that not only starts in the NBA, but for most of the season, most of the games, Jabari he impacted winning. He was a positive. Obviously, he had some bad games like every young guy does, but Jabari was just steady Eddie, stayed out the way. Not really much you expect from him, but when we were winning, he did well. He had a lot of big games that really didn't count to winning just yet because he is not that level yet. But him playing his position and doing his job helped us win the games that we did win. So I would say Jabari had a very great developmental year for him. And I think his year was a huge success given the context of where he's coming from. Let's look at Jalen's class. So we'll start with Şengün. I think Şengün had obviously a breakout year, all-star level play. Jabari called him the best player on the team in the post-game interview. I think he's the best player on our team just because he does so much for the team. Coming from Steven Silas, how they used him, and I don't think Udoka even used him right this year. But to me, the biggest improvement Alp he made is that he was the anchor for a top 10 defense. And when he got hurt, the defense was top 7, top 6, top 7. So that was one of the questions that people asked. There's 2 questions. Well, the goalpost moves a little bit. The first question is, can he be part of a good defense? Well, he's proved that. Yes, he can be. And I would even say, and this is a defense with Jalen Green, right? This is a defense with Jalen Green and with Jabari Smith Jr. Those guys have gotten better on defense over the year. They're going to get better over the summer. So that means the defense can be better for everybody, right? The second question about him is yet to. That's going to be can he be a good defender in the playoffs where teams are going to hunt, you're going to hunt those mismatches, try to play to your weakest defender. We're not going to know that till they actually get there. But that's still a pending for a lot of our guys because then that's one of the reasons I wanted to make the playoffs so bad this year, bro. Is I wanted to see because you want to answer these questions before you start giving out money to players. But I think Şengün's ascension into the level where he was getting, if we had a better record, he probably would have made an all-star team this year. I think it was important for multiple reasons. One, it gives us a direction that the team can go in if they choose to, right? I say that if they choose to. The Rockets this offseason can go in a multitude of directions with their team, right? It gives us that direction. Number 2, I'm going to say there's 3 good things. Number 2, it does give Jalen's his upside a partner to pair with because you guys know my philosophy on basketball. A big man by himself, no matter how great he is, can only impact so much on winning, right? They're always going to need a guard, a wing player to kind of combine with them. So that gives Jalen's upside. So we have 2 players that are symmetrical in what they could accomplish together. So that's good for him. The most important thing Şengün did this year for the team, bro, was he allowed the other young guys to be bad. And what I mean by that, his good play and the fact that he broke out on the NBA scene so much allowed Jalen Green to go under the radar and just be a young guy learning without getting the scrutiny of being the number 1 player on the team, right? If we saw like how Jalen was in April the whole year, the NBA would have destroyed him. But when you have Şengün popping out, Jabari gets to take his lumps, Jalen gets to take his lumps, all the other young guys get to take their lumps. And I think that's an important aspect of having that. He essentially becomes a buffer, right? And also as a franchise, it gives you a little breathing room, right? If Jalen isn't who he's supposed to be, you can be like, well, at least we got Alperen Şengün. Now, ideally, we want all of our players to succeed. I personally think that, the 2 of them are going to be the highest upside for the team, not one of them split apart, because I think Jalen's upside as a player is really, really high. But I think that for him, he had a breakout year. Love to see what he got coming up. We'll do videos all summer about what they need to improve on, et cetera, et cetera. Jalen Green this year, there's 2 ways I look at Jalen's development when I'm looking at Jalen. 2 things I got to look at, right? I look at him in season from game 1 to game 82, and I look at him from I'll call it trans season from last year to this year. In fact, from his rookie year till now. And I'm going to talk about both. The first one I'm going to look at is from last year to this year, and Jalen's progression as a basketball player. I'd said this in one of my videos. Jalen Green is a player that was raised in AAU culture, right? And then that you go straight to the G League Ignite, who have been shut down basically. And then from League Ignite, which is AAU with a little more structure, to the Steven Silas AAU program here in Houston for the 2 years that he was with Steven Silas. And for him to develop into a player this year that I've seen, I think for him is just a testament to his resolve as a player. You're talking about a guy that's a strong defender, not even a defensive, like he makes it. Jalen Green's a good defender, bro. Like teams don't try to attack him. In fact, they try to get away from him sometimes. Obviously, he's always going to he's small, right? So if you get a bigger player posting him up, same thing with Fred, they're going to pick that. Everybody has a mismatch. But when it comes to guarding and on the perimeter, he has gotten so much better this year, bro. It's impressive. I think to me, that's the biggest leap he's made is on the defensive end of the court. That's a testament to Coach Oka and his culture building for the team. Uh, the playmaking took a leap, right? Not even the playmaking. He always could pass, sneaky passer his whole career. The pocket pass been in his bag. The playmaking is not just passing, it's playmaking. It's also decision making. And I think the decision making has improved so much for Jalen this year that you see a world where you could trust him to be a dominant ball handler for the team in stretches, especially when Şengün isn't on the court or they want to go 5 out or you want to, you switch it up. You can trust him to be, because one of the things we've lacked early on in the season, without Şengün on the court, we didn't have an offensive identity because we didn't have a second engine to carry the team. In the NBA, you need a primary engine, and it could be a play style or a set, or it could be a player. And for us, our main engine this year was pick and rolls with Alp and Fred or Alp post-ups, right? So when Şengün was on the court, the second unit was just lost. I think what we saw with this stretch with Şengün hurt is Jalen kind of find his identity. And basically as a guy he's going to push the pace, push the tempo, and be able to attack a defense that isn't set, use his speed and athleticism to cut through the teeth of the defense and make for his teammates, right? Make plays, get to the basket, and just make the defense kind of warp by his speed. And I think that's a good 1-2 punch for an 82-game season. You need to be able to play different styles, and I think he gives us a different style, and that's a great development for him. But within the season, he developed. Now, I'm not going to lie to y'all. He had if you look at it from just objectively, and I've said this before, you can judge our players in context of the Rockets to Rockets. So Silas to Udoka. If I'm judging Jalen let's scale out to the NBA, he's underperformed, right? But we know why as Rockets fans, right? But on the macro, for a guy that is a number 2 overall pick in year 3, this is not the typical year 3 leap that you want to see. But we see the kind of the glimpses of what he's going to be. We understand the context of Steven Silas and what he. We understand the context of having a Kevin Porter Jr. as your point guard. We understand the context of not being held accountable and benched for bad habits that have built up over the years. We understand the context that he was immersed in that system as the number 1 player. And then he has to change his mindset when other players are put ahead of him. And then he has better teammates around him, like Fred, like Dylan. Şengün takes a leap. So all of these things are things he has to adjust to. And finding himself took longer than most of our other guys, like Jabari, who was a role player. You go from one role player system to another, it's fairly easy, right? Şengün, who was a guy that was used as a secondary player. Now, Şengün's a pro. He's a primary guy in Turkey. On the Rockets, he was a secondary. He started off as a secondary. They moved into him so he's kind of used to his role. Obviously, he had some development to do in this thing. But for Jalen, it would always take the longest, and I'm pleased with what I've seen. The only thing that I didn't like from him this year is how he ended the year. I didn't like how he ended this season because I'm a big believer in momentum and carrying that into the offseason. So I'm glad he was able to have a good game against the Clippers. And he came back from that April stretch because I don't like that taste in your mouth where you're like that bad to end the year, because I just feel like momentum is everything. And that was, if I said that we were disappointing as a team, is how we ended the year. I did not like it. I did not like April. April was a nasty month for us. But I think Jalen on the in-season level, he had a lot of growth and development that you're not going to be able to see just by looking at the box score. You're not going to see it by just saying he played good and bad, but you just have to look at it from where he started from. I think he got better as a rebounder, a defender, a playmaker, a decision maker. And I'd like to see that more of that leadership quality get better. And that starts with just playing hard on a night-to-night basis. For Jalen, can you do your job on a nightly basis? Can you do that for us, bro? That's what I don't give a damn if he only averages 18 points next year. Dude, can you be efficient for me at 18 points? Can you play defense with 18 points? Can you make the right decisions with 18 points? And I promise you the team is going to make the playoffs, right? So the high highs and the low lows, we can't have that. I need even, steady Eddie, Jalen, just do your job, bro. And I think if he does that, then he can build off of that going into the rest of his career. But if you can progress towards those highs, you might never be a 82 game March for him where he's averaging like 30 on 69% true shooting. But the player that is able to get trapped and force teams to have to adjust to him is a guy that we need to see on a night in, night out basis, because that opens up a lot of things for the team. But I would say his development this year, it's promising, not ideal. It's promising. I think he's laid the foundation to have a breakout season next year. Right, to have a breakout season next year. The vets with Fred and Dylan, Dylan Brooks, Dylan Brooks regressed over the year. He shook back a little bit, but I think just from a culture building standpoint, he did his job. And I think the conversations about Dylan and what he's going to bring for the team next year on a basketball court level, that becomes a different conversation, right? We've established a certain culture. At some point, the culture kind of, okay, we know we got a culture now. Now let's talk about hoops. And I think the hoops conversation with Dylan is going to be a conversation that needs to be had, whether his spot is up with Tari and Amen Thompson to start next year. So that's my take on Dylan. But I think as far as physicality, bringing a certain identity and a certain level of professionalism, he did that for us. I don't think it's a coincidence that our guys like to throw hands, bro. Like, we got a bunch of dogs on the team that don't play that. And I think he's the top gun when it comes to just don't take no ish from nobody. And, I think that he served this purpose. Now, the Dylan conversation is going to get interesting because y'all know he's the one guy on the roster that is guaranteed for the next 3 years, right? So he's here by hook or crook unless they trade him. I don't think they will. But we will see what happens this offseason. I just hope that it's open competition. Let me say that. I would say Fred VanVleet is probably second from Udoka, the most important addition we've made this year. I think Fred has outperformed, in my opinion, what he was brought here to do. Even though he's making a massive contract, I think we didn't ask Fred to come here and be a superstar, right? If you look at what he's been asked to do is to be basically, like, you guys know my analogy of the training wheel. Fred was brought here to be a prop for our young guys. And one thing I said in the first game against Orlando, the first half of that game, Fred and Dylan were passive. And they watched what the guys did, and our young guys pissed down their legs in that game. They didn't look like they were ready. And Fred had to start shooting. We almost came back. If y'all don't remember that game, Fred went on a run, started hitting shots. The point is, Fred is a space filler. He only goes off when a guy that is supposed to go off isn't going off, whether it's Sengun, whether it's Jalen. He is a guy that wants to win games, and he will do it by any means. I don't think he cares how they win the game. He just wants to win. So if Jalen is cooking like he was in March, Fred is going to average just 12 assists, right? He's going to move off the rock, play off ball, hit his off ball threes. If Jalen or Sengun get passive and start acting scary, Fred is going to take the Bulls by the horns because he is a winner. And I think that is what he was brought here to do, and he did a damn good job of that. The reason y'all know I didn't want James Harden, and shout out to James Harden, already causing a little bit of drama in the Clippers locker room. But despite all that, I didn't want James Harden because James Harden is almost too good for that role. He's too much of a presence. He said it himself in his first Clippers. He said he is a system, right? He is a system onto himself. And I think that is contrasting to Ime Udoka's system. I would rather lay the foundation of what I said earlier, being a top 10 defense, top 5 defense, than be a James Harden and the cast, James and co. Right? I don't think Jalen gets to develop the way he did with James Harden here, even though he would have developed in a different way. I'd rather have Jalen be a defensive guy than be a better offensive player because the offense is going to come. That's easy. That's a layup. The offense he's naturally God-given on that end of the court. That's going to be something that can become second nature to him. But when you got Jalen playing defense, playing as part of a team, I think that's you can attribute that to Fred and to Coach Udoka. And I think Fred has done his job. One of his more efficient years in the NBA. Just a great vet for everybody, man. You see his imprint on every single player. For Jalen, for Sengun, for Cam, all of them. You know he's always talking to them, and he sets us a professional tone for our team. That you expect from a vet, a champion, you know what I mean? And that's what you love about guys like that. Same thing for Dylan, for Jeff Green. Jeff Green impactful on our players. I think just having vets this year was huge. Lastly, I would talk about the coaching staff. The coaching staff, starting with Ime Udoka, the best hire Houston has made in a long time. 41 wins with this team, 41 wins. And I'm telling you, we could have won more games. We could have won more games because you know why? And people will think I'm hating on Jalen for this because Udoka let Jalen play through the rough patch. He could have benched Jalen in the first quarter for Aaron Holiday or for Amen Thompson or Cam Whitmore. I wanted Amen to start over Jalen and just have Jalen play spot minutes. But Ime Udoka said, you know what, fan base, shut up. I got this. I understand what I'm doing because he was looking at the big picture of our players, right? You can win 41 wins now and have Jalen learn to be the player he needs to be. And you take your lumps, right? Like we did this year. And you kind of be patient with him and learn and develop, and you still confidence and say that you still trust him, even though he gets benched. You put him back in the game, the next game to play and give him the opportunity. Or he could have just said, I want to win 45, 46 games and be a first-round exit and started Aaron Holiday or somebody else throughout the whole year. He chose the long-term view, and I like that because that shows that he's patient. So to me, they could have pushed for more games, but development took a backseat to winning, even though they were trying to do both. They were trying to thread the needle of development and growth. And and I think that he did a good job doing that because we see the dividends from all our players. You could have put Jeff Green in for Jabari, right? You could have put different players in for different players and just try to say, I'm going to win. You could have pushed a Stone, a hard stop. Give me this guy right now. But they didn't do that. For whatever reason, they leaned into our young guys, and I think it's going to pay off in the future, especially next season. That's how I feel about that. So I think Coach Udoka this year, I just love everything he did, man. And one little nugget I took from the post-game interview for the exit interviews, Fred VanVleet said it that this year their offense was on purpose very, very basic. Very basic. And that was, y'all know I'm not a fan of Coach Udoka's offense. So if the players are echoing that, if Fred is echoing that, and the offense is basic on purpose, then I'm excited about the future. That top 10 defense stuff, that is a huge deal. There are teams right now like the Indiana Pacers. I'm not, no slugs at the Pacers, but number one, top 5 offense in the league, blah, 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 terrible defense. They're capped out with that style of play as a first round exit because in the playoffs, all that run and gun stuff out the window. All that run and gun. You can't run and gun against teams in the playoffs. They are going to force you to slow down. The game forces you to slow down, bro. That is how it is. Like that top 10 defense stuff is so real. You know how we were able to stay in these games with our offense was bad. We were to lower third offense. We stayed in these games because we could get stops. That is playoff stuff. If you can't get a stop, you can't win in the playoffs, right? Our team could get stops. We got stops with Şengün. We got stops with Jock Line. We got stops, bro, with Jalen Green and Jabari. Weak defenders. We got stops. As these guys improve, once we get in that dance in the playoffs, you're going to see all this, we're playing too slow stuff. That stuff is it's a good experience to have, right? It's a good experience to have because that's playoff basketball. You want to know what playoff basketball looks at? Compare our March to our April. March, a bunch of tanking teams. You can run and gun. You can dunk on them. You can get out and run in transition. April, you're playing the Timberwolves, bro. We're going to make you play in half court. You're playing the Warriors. Hey, brother, you playing in half court. Can you get a stop? Can you get a bucket? That's the NBA, bro. That's why, you got to have contrasting styles. And the style that I think we've learned at baseline for the whole year is to slow it down and get buckets and get stops. And I think in the long run, when you start venturing off into a more dynamic offense, you add the pace that we saw in March to this. You have different styles. You could fight teams, depending on what the matchup is. You got a team that, can't stop you in transition, run on them all game long. You got a team that want to slow you down in the half court, we're going to pick and roll you to death. We're going to get on the low block and run some split action you to death. We're going to force you to beat our cuts, right? We're going to attack your paint to death. Then when you get on here, you got a Steph, we're trapping that. Get the ball out of his hands. We can do that. Okay, Şengün, you out. Jabari, you at the 5. We switching 1 through 5 on you. Now beat us in isolation. This is the beauty of the game of basketball. I think the Rockets, they've shown a glimpse of a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there. All of that stuff is going to tie in as all of this it's going to melt in their heads and they'll be able to do it. But you just appreciate the different styles that they've shown and what Coach Udoka was able to do. Overall for me, I think this year was successful in the fact that we were able to get development from our players. We were able to see growth in different aspects. We were able to see development as a team, the cohesion. The locker room was really, really tight this year. And, all the players just got better. And we have an elite coach. I still believe that. And, despite them not making the play-in, which to me would have been like the extra icing on the cake, I still think they had a successful year coming from where we come from. But I am curious to see what you guys think. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Need y'all boys to come up and chop it up with me here. Let me see if this thing will let me. Okay. Y'all give me a second. Let me put the link in the chat here. Get the chat involved. Okay, I'm trying to put on the chat overlay. Put the link. Let's see if that comes up. ICSGs, y'all come up, man. This is the end of the year town hall. Let me get my chop shop folks up here. Let's talk some Rockets basketball, man. How do y'all need to know what y'all feel about this year? I'm optimistic going into this this off season. I don't know what y'all are feeling right now. I got my man Charlie. Let me get him up on the stage. What up, Charlie? How you feeling, bro?
Hey, how you doing, Frank? Good to hear from you. When you talk to Space, tell him that I missed you both. It's just good to be able to sit back and have y'all around, man. I have to start this off by saying, like,
We lost Charlie. Charlie has must have a bad connection. But yeah, y'all come up, man. Come up on the chat, my CSGs. Let me look who's in the chat from the Chop Shop gang. Who we got in the house today? Let me start from the top. Icy 1025 was good with you, bro. You know what I mean? A lot of new faces. I ain't seen him. Duncan. Daniel Sports Highlights was good with you, brother. K2 MFP. Jose Garcia. Valentino Torres. Gary Bankston was up, bro. Luker Durker was good with you. Dave Russ. Marios. Furkan Yildirim. I hope I said that right, bro. Sanjay, what's up, bro? Jaymon, long time no see, bro. Let's see who else we got in the chat. Harlem PS Gamer was good. Shout out to everybody in the chat. For the year. One thing, as far as with the Rockets going forward, that's going to be interesting to see for this year. Is going to be the decisions they make, obviously on the young guys, right? I'm not sure if what they saw at the end of the year may have calmed some of the itch to improve the roster drastically. The question still lingers, though, for the Rockets. There is still a lingering question about whether this is what we have right now is good enough. And I think that's going to be a question. And it's a real question. I question that sometimes because it's not about whether we can improve, is can we improve enough to be impactful in the West? And that's still pending. And it's going to be a lot on our guys to have that internal development. But what's good, bro? We got KP in the house. What's good with you, bro? KP, you there? Once, twice? No? Okay. We'll let him get himself situated. But that question about whether we are good enough with what we have right now to be able to make it to that next level. Because I don't see it as you just show up and just because you're a year older as a team, you're just gonna just be better, right? Because you still have to beat out other teams. You got to beat out the the Sacramentos of the world, the New Orleanses at that level. You got to beat out the different teams that have other good players and other great players on their roster to be able to ascend in the West. You got Wemby and the Spurs. I think the Spurs are going to be a playoff team pretty quickly, in my opinion. You also have the Minnesota is still going to be there. Denver is still there. So this question, I don't know what Udoka was Stoner feeling right now about this roster, especially how the end of the month kind of ended, how we lost all these playoff teams. Whether they feel like they have enough, but that's going to be something that's going to be a great storyline to follow over the year. Mitty, what's up, bro?
What's going on, Frank? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. Thank God. I thought the stream was just on some, but yeah, man. What is your gauge on this season, man? Success or failure?
Success, absolutely. I mean, it's actually a shame that we didn't make the play. And you think about it, right? Like if we had a season like this back in the maybe I don't know, like 2000s, like late around like 2010s or whatever. Like this is like an eighth, seventh seed, I think. And we're like an 11th seed right now, and I think we'd be like ninth in the East or whatever. But it's a success, man. You saw obviously a breakout from Alpi. He's a possible candidate for a franchise cornerstone to like build your team around. You saw something from Jalen. It's still because one thing about Jalen though, I'm a little nervous from what I saw towards the end. I was listening to you, and I like 100% agree. I'd want him to finish the season off strong because if he's just kind of like the way he finished it off rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. Maybe I don't know. Either way, I like I like what I saw from Amen. Obviously, Tari's probably one of the most underrated guys on our team right now. Um, but I think going into next year, there's a lot of pieces though that we have to add in the summer. I'm kind of just like spitballing a little bit here. Um, but this summer, I want to know what you think about the contract situation with with Alpi, with Jalen, and then thinking about with Jabari, Tari, trades and all that. What would you
Damn,
do on that?
damn, Mitty, no foreplay. You just go straight to the hard question, huh? Um, I mean, you know, my stance is going to be relatively the same as it's been all year. I think that you have to give this an opportunity. I think about the market right now. Like, I think the best player they could possibly get in the market is probably with Donovan Mitchell. We've seen Donovan Mitchell's upside. I'm still incredibly intrigued by Jalen Green's upside. And I feel like I would be doing a disservice if I didn't give him and Shangun the opportunity to play together to see. We know they have chemistry. I think the biggest thing, and I said this before, the biggest thing that is going to be a barrier to their success is ego. That's it. It's going to be ego, and what I mean by that is, can they learn to play together, not as Jalen being the number one like he was when Silas was here, and Shangun being a screener and a finisher for him, and not as Jalen being off ball to Shangun's Fred and Van Vliet pick and roll, or vice versa. It's, can they learn to play together and use the synergy of both of their upside and their talent and skill set to punish the other team. And that requires sacrifice from both of them. It's going to require a lot of development in Jalen's game, because as the ball handler, that dance is really his to take the lead on. And I think the upside for their ceiling as a duo is really heavily relying on Jalen Green's IQ development and his processing development as a ball handler going forward. Because it'll be you're under using Alp if you put him with a bad processor, right? Because then you're going to miss so much about the nuance of what he does really well. As great as he is, he always needs his Jamal Murray. He needs his Kobe. He's going to need his Dwayne Wade. He's going to need his every big man, bro. Is as I was talking to Wemby about Wemby earlier with a Spurs fan, and somebody had talked about how great Wemby is, and he's going to be an MVP. I was like, and they were in contracts to us as the Rockets. They said the Spurs are going to be a better team than us. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, but they can't win every championship, and you still need to build a roster around Wemby. And the reason I'm emphasizing that, Wemby isn't Luka. He isn't LeBron. He isn't Luka. He isn't LeBron. He's a big man, and a big is, no matter how great they are, they're always going to be depending on the ball handler that's their partner. And to me, that's going to be the decision to me of whether we're going to be successful is going to be between Jalen and Shangun. Now, after that, if there is not success about who they should prioritize going forward, I think this coming season is really going to tell them a lot. I think Jalen helped himself out a lot, and with that stretch he had in March to remind the team and the NBA of what his upside is. But Şengün also had a great year too. So I think what you do is you see whether they could work. If you see the budding of a two-man game that is worthy of that, you pay both of them at next summer, not this summer. Honestly, for me, this is me. You pay both of them next summer, and then you give that pairing a couple of years to see how far it can take you. If they get to a second round, and it's not because of the surrounding cast, and it's strictly all, they get to a second round and the surrounding cast is adequate, then you can think about it like, okay, this doesn't work. But it's just too early for me to give up on it. To me, it would be kind of foolish, in my opinion. That's just me, though.
No, you're 100%. The two-man game between Jalen and LP is something that I'm so excited to see. You give those pick and roll possessions instead of from Fred and LP to Jalen and LP. And if Jalen actually is like consistent as he was in March and plays like that guy and just shoots 36%, that's league average. If he shoots 36%, you're cooking with something. Because Jalen also adds he adds another element to the pick and roll, like another dimension. If you just have Fred is, he's good. He's good with his he can step back and hit you with a three, or he gives it to Alpi on the roll. But you're very limited because he's not really a driver. He doesn't really finish that well, and that he hasn't ever really. But you add Jalen, his first step will kill you, and then if you saw during, like, I've seen so many moments like in March where I was just like, this pick and roll is actually something very, it could be very special. And it's just still in its like incubation phase, I would say. Like during the Spurs game, I mean, it's just kind of like they've been doing a lot of give and goes, but like there's so many times where Jalen, like he's improved as a processor so well that he's able to thread the needle between two guys and get it Alpi. And then I didn't know he had that in him. Like the ideal position for Jalen would be the one. If he could play that, you remove the need of having kind of like a primary ball handler, I guess, like in Fred. And then you just have that person as a shooter, as a release valve. And then out of those actions, like if Fred or Jalen and LP don't work, then you get into those three shooters or those two shooters and one Amin who might be like, I guess, like in the dunker spot. So that's one thing, right? Another thing would be probably, we need shooters. I was looking at the end of the season effective field goal percentages of all of the teams in the NBA. And this is kind of like the way that one of the best like NBA statisticians, NBA analytic persons, Dean Oliver, he calculates 4 factors, and it works very well for predictions, especially. People still use 4 factors forever. And one of the main things for shooting that they use is effective field goal percentage. And it mimics shooting pretty well. Anyways, we're fifth, like bottom fifth. I think we finished 26th in effective field goal percentage. So that just tells you, like, we're there with Charlotte, with Detroit. San Antonio is better than us, and they were terrible from three. So we're like with the Bulls, Charlotte, Detroit. So like if we can actually get those like release valves and the shooters, and a big part of that is Jalen. Can he actually shoot? Because his usage has never changed, like the entire season. It's always been the same. And I talked with you about it before. Like Ime has always had like a specific sort of trust in Jalen. And it was like, okay, we're going to either die with Jalen or we're going to we're going to live with him. He never gave his usage to Jabari. He never gave his usage to Dylan Brooks. He never gave his usage to anybody else. Like it's always been Jalen Green. So if he can actually get his 3-point percentage up to at least 36%, that team, and then you add Tari back in and you get a couple of shooters, we probably go for like, even if for like middle of the pack effective field goal percentage, that team becomes a contender, and we keep the defense, everything the same, and we just increase the field goal percentage. That team becomes a legitimate like competitor in the playoffs next year. Not just like a play-in like ease into the playoffs, like a competitor, like a dark horse to actually make some noise. So that's the main thing. And the main action, and then like I think we talked about it on the playback as well. What was I going to say? But yeah, like it just depends on whether Ime can go from the basic to like more advanced sets, and these guys can actually move forward with that, or does he still have to keep it basic? So it depends on that, right? Now I don't know what they're going to do at the contract situation. My thing would be give Alp max, like just give him the max, um, and then figure it out from there. Because at this point, you don't have a Joel Embiid for like to go into your fourth year and like let Maxi or whatever like get his max in the fourth year. I wouldn't risk it. I would just give him that. And then and I don't think I mean you might have a problem with Jalen's agents, but Jalen himself, he knows like he wasn't that good this year. Anyways, that's a whole different situation. I'm not gonna that's a whole different rabbit hole. If I was the gym, that's what I would do. But I understand if you take it to its fourth year. And also it's not also I figured out that just because so like you can only get the designated rookie max in his third year for Alpi or whatever and Jalen. But if you take it to the fourth year, you can still give a max. It's just not called the designated rookie max anymore. It's just called a regular max. And it's not RFA either. It's just free. It's just like regular free agency. Anyways, yeah.
No, I mean those are great points, and I don't know what's going on with the with the connection. People keep coming on, and the stream is going in and out. Restream is I hate Restream. That's what we use for our live streams. I'm probably gonna move to a different platform next year. But I mean I could see the argument for paying. I mean, obviously, I think if you in his class, he's probably like performance wise, probably the best player in the class of 2021 this year. So it's not a far thing. I don't know if the Rockets are going to get cute and try to do that where they let it play out into restricted free agency. I don't know if his injury plays a part in that. You know, that may be something to consider with the fact that he is injured. And they may want to see, you know, if the ankle is good to go. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it really impacts what they want to do if they sign him. You know, they could still sign him. They could still and keep it moving. The thing about any of these guys to me, bro, is that they're young and they're always going to have value in the league. So even if you sign both of them or one of them or none, like they're going to have value on the open market just because they're they're young and let me see who we got up here. Charlie. Okay, they're both gone. Okay, I think Mitty, are you still there?
Yeah, I keep seeing like them connecting and then they get like killed.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if it's my side or their side. But yeah, I think but those are those questions about whether we should like sign, you know, re-sign. It'll come up. And I think what's going to be really telling, honestly, is what they do with this pick that they have. I think right now we're slotted at the what are we, ninth, right? With the Jazz losing. I mean, I would, like I already said, I would trade the pick. I don't see any reason for us to keep a player unless there's a player they just love that is there that they feel like fill an immediate need right now. I would trade the pick and try to see if I could upgrade the roster, especially on the shooting side of things. And I think that's going to be telling. But it'll be to me, this summer is going to be so crucial for the Rockets. There's so many directions they can go in. It's just so many things, bro. Like I would nothing will shock me because I can't read email Udoka as a guy. He is so blunt and straightforward that you don't know if he's like, okay, I'm just trying to win. Is he really trying to develop long term? Is he okay with just relying on super young players going forward? Does he want more vets? I think this summer is going to tell us a lot. But
remember that article? Remember that article he wrote about, or like article I guess Kelly Eco wrote, and he was like, and then like because in this press conference, and you said this before, like people, even myself, were like, does he like Alpi? Like a bunch of Turkish fans were like, does he like? It doesn't sound like he likes Alpi. He doesn't give him any credit or whatever. And then in like one of his interviews, he just basically said, yeah, he's like Joel Embiid, like with better passing. And then he said, oh, I would love to work with him for years to come. And then when I heard that, when I heard that, I was shocked, but I was like, okay, like I don't mind it.
Yeah, I mean he's a old type of coach. You really can't. I don't know what fans are used to where coaches meet ride players. It's really not the type of coaching I grew up on.
Silas.
Yeah, most I love you, right? I think he said he loved one of our players, but I think most coaches, especially from the Popovich tree. Once again, I've said this about how Popovich talked about Tim Duncan. You would have thought they hated each other, but there was a deep bond of respect. And Pop has said that Tim is one of the best human beings that he's ever been around. But if you see the way he talked to this dude and yelled at him on the bench, you would have not really gathered that from those images. So to me, that whatever he says, like people got mad when the same thing when Jalen was on the streak, he didn't really give him any like super crazy praise. When they asked him, has he seen something like this? He said, yes. I've seen guys that's done that. Like he is just straightforward, bro. I think it is what you see is what you get. And I promise you, for any athlete in the audience, those are the best type of coaches. Because there are a lot of coaches that'll say one thing and then behind closed doors, they treat you like something else. The best coaches are the one that tell you exactly what you need to do to make them happy, right? What they want from you. There's no sugarcoating it. There's nothing that you need to like to try to feel out and see like, does he really like me? Nah, he's gonna tell you you're playing. And to me, that's a good thing in a sense for the players. What's hard for me is how I read that as his long-term view of the players, because he could say Alp is Joel Embiid and still want a different type of player. He could say Jalen is a talented young scorer and still want a different type of player because he just has a certain belief and mindset. It's really hard to read him just for me. And shout out, what up, Jeremy? What up, Jeremy? I see you, brother. Let me see if we can get somebody to stick up here. Mayu, can you hear me? Can you talk, bro? Oh man, damn, bro. I don't know what's up with the stream. Mitty, you must have some like exquisite internet, bro. Okay, you can't play either. I don't know what it is, bro. I don't know what it is.
Sucking the life out of all them.
Nah, I guess the bandwidth is probably two people. But nah, it's gonna be really interesting, bro. I think this offseason is gonna be one of the more interesting ones. Let me see if what's up, bro? Can you hear me?
Yeah, bro, I'm in here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you. Oh, thank God.
Yeah, the app closed. I had to refresh it. It was one of them things.
Oh, okay. Was good, man.
So,
what you feel about the season?
I feel like they showed a lot of positive signs. I'm really looking forward to Tari Easton coming back because I feel like he like the ultimate glue guy. Like you used to play ball, so you know how it is when you play with people that just give you confidence and that just make.
Damn. Is there an app for this? I don't know, man. I'm sorry, guys. Not sure what's going on with the Restream app. I'm definitely gonna have to write them a letter about this. But okay, we're gonna give him one more chance, man. If this don't work, I'm gonna have to shut this down, bro.
Yeah, keep kicking me out. But yeah, he wasn't on players.
You're on the app. Are you on the app or are you on the web browser?
I'm on the web browser.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that, bro. But try to get through it. Try to get through a minute. Let's see.
All right, so real fast. Tari Easton, he reminds me of one of those people that brings back the love of basketball, and he makes mojo. Like he make you.
Damn, got him out of there.
Damn.
All right, man.
He's speaking facts though about Tari Easton. Tari Easton is the glue guy. Tari's the glue guy between all these players, in my opinion. He's the reason why, because I don't think Jabari is necessarily your best like four defender. Like he can be a little slow at times, whatever. But Tari Easton makes it work because he does a lot of the things. He's a weak side. I think he's a weak side like shot blocker, rim like help defender, and then Jabari can come clean up the mess. And it's just you got 4 big guys in there, or sorry, 3 big guys. Pause. I think you were going to say something though.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of how Steve Adams set screens. And I look at some of our players, and it's like Amon Thompson, Fred Green.
Wait, that man said Fred Green. Yeah, Fred Green and Amon. Definitely. Yeah, I don't know what's up with the app, bro. I'm sorry, Mayu. I'm not sure what's going on with the app, but yeah, I think the Tari point is definitely real. And what I'm curious to see is how him and Tari and the man next to each other, adjacent, are going to look, because I think we haven't seen that lineup of Tari and the men with like Fred on the court at the same time. I think that 3-man defensive dynamic is going to be something serious, bro. Really excited. I think that's a huge part of this team's success next year is going to be Tari Easton's health. As we know from his rookie year, the dude was just somebody that really, as soon as he stepped on the court, we were winning. The impact was definitely there. Wish he played more. I think Jabari alluded that him and Jabari didn't get to play with each other a lot, which was a shame. There was a lineup, bro, of Mitty. I don't know if you remember this, of Tari, Jabari, Jalen, and Shangun under Steven Silas. They only played like 60 possessions together the whole of last year. Isn't that crazy, bro?
That's crazy. And yeah, Jabari even said it, like, why I don't understand why we didn't play together.
Just nuts. Let me see. I'm gonna give. Okay, Maya already got kicked off, bro. Just give it up, bro. I ain't gonna hold you. But just give it up. I don't know. Restream got beef with you, bro. But I think going forward, just some things that I'm gonna be looking for this year. Obviously, what I'm gonna do. One of the episodes I'm gonna do is an exit interview of what the players need to improve on for this season. If I was the coach, like what have I seen from this year? For each of our players, also looking at how they actually bond together this offseason. One story that I remember is the 2019 Raptors, before they won the championship, bro. They were hooping together at Rico Hines at UCLA all summer long. All summer long, they were hooping together, bonding, learning to play with each other, and it paid off in them winning a chip. Not saying that's the only thing that you need to win a championship, but that's
with
definitely
Kawhi?
Yeah, that year with Kawhi. Yeah, they were at Rico's. I don't think Kawhi was there because he was semi-hurt. Remember, that was when he had to go to like New York to a specialist and all that. But that was definitely something I saw. I need that from the Rockets this year. Like they need to hoop together, need to hang out together, need to develop that bond and start practicing, not just in New York doing step back jumpers in the empty gym, but actually get with each other and run plays as a unit and cut and learn to pass and know where guys like the speed they move at, run some pick and rolls, get some off ball, like do stuff together so that it can give them a leg up on the season. Devin, let's see. I ain't gonna lie, your bars, you yellow right now, but let's see how long you last for Restream gets you out of here, bro. What's good?
Not much, man. I'm feeling good about the season. A few things I noticed. Jalen's demeanor really, took a upswing. You can understand him on post game interviews now.
Yo, that's great.
Tell me,
That's something you noticed.
yeah,
like he's
man.
actually
Yeah,
coherent on his interview.
He's speaking with his chest. I'm like he's acting like a leader. Somebody we want to be in the face of our superstar, want to be in the face of our franchise, man, because I'm not gonna lie, I be on and see what he's saying after the game, and he's like at one point in time he was making the stereotype of the Rockets like, man, we got some dumb players because he was not giving us anything in the first conference. Yeah, I like our new identity. We're scrappy. We got a coach kind of promotes that type of Memphis Grizzly wild type of basketball. It's watch. I like the dynamic we have. I I like the I like the thought of having 41 wins and not having complete roster. You know, we've been, switching up the lineup a lot. We got to see a man in a few different places. I do want to kind of see where his future is with the team as far as him being a point guard. If he can pick up that jump shot, I think he might be able to take that spot next year. But if not, I'm thinking, I don't know. To me, Tari Eason is a better shooter. I do think Amin has a little bit better defensive instincts, but Tari's shooting and muscle. If Amin can't add that shooting, to me, he's kind of just another Tari Eason in my opinion. But other than that, though, really satisfied with the season. I wish we could have made the play-in, but that just goes to show how tough the competition is. In the West this year.
No, that's a great point. You also agree that basically I think I'm with you that I think Tari and Amin are going to be somehow battling for the same kind of spot next year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't see Jabari being moved off of his power forward position. I think Jabari is going to get better. Obviously, Şengün is there. You have Fred there. I think Jalen is there. So to me, it's going to be the Dylan, Kari, Amin for that 3 spot. And I don't know, man. That's going to be an interesting battle. I just hope Coach Udoka makes it a fair one, for sure for next year. Mayu, you seem like you've lasted in the waiting. Let's see if your talking is what's doing it. It might be because
Yeah,
you
I'm
called,
back.
Fred Green and you called Amin. Come on. That's probably
Yo, when
why I
you
picked you off, bro. But we're gonna give you another chance to get the player's name right.
I
What's
was
good?
I was trying to speed through. I was trying to speed it through.
know what I mean, didn't know. But look, yo, I'm looking forward to seeing Terry Easton and Cam crashing the boards with Amen. I think that's going to be very dynamic. Them 3 young, athletic, rowdy, high energy players. And then I be thinking about practice too, like the way Steve Adams is one of the best screeners in the league and how that's going to rub off on the young guys. And if Amen could just, it's funny, like when he shoot, it looked like it's going in every time. Like, it be looking good off the fingertips and it just be coming up short. So if he could just develop
I don't
any
know.
type of
I don't know. He shoot like his
yeah,
back hurt.
right. Like you know what I mean? It's like I don't even know what he needs to fix in his jump shot. Like if he needs more legs, like if he's trying to make that thing go straight in without touching the rim, and that's why it's falling short. Like, but if he could develop a little bit of a jump shot and Cam and Terry and Jabari and we could be really dynamics on the boards and just really dynamic and pace and with spreading the floor and that's not even to mention a upgraded version of LP what that's going to look like. So I feel like this year was very promising. I'm kind of happy that they didn't make the plans because I think they're going to learn from that pain and it's going to make us better in the long run.
That's a good point. But man, I wanted that plan, bro, so bad because honestly, bro, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. To me, like we've made steps, but we're still gonna be like, we need to get in. And once you get in, then you get to experience it. Then after that, you can take that leap. So I don't see us like going into that next stratosphere because I don't think we have enough guys, especially the guys we're gonna be banking on, have gotten that slap in the face, like, bro, you have so much to grow in your game that the playoffs does for young guys. That's one of the reasons I'm a bit disappointed. If I had one thing I'm disappointed is that they didn't get the opportunity to really learn their limitations at level of basketball. And they're going to get it next year, but it's going to be like, okay, this is what then the year after that, then you start seeing like the top 4 stuff. But that's just how I view it. And that's, NBA history, that's usually how it works. Yeah. Well, yeah,
I
appreciate
also
that take, bro. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I also feel like we're a lot better than we showed the league as
Yes.
far as when Jalen was playing good, LP wasn't even in the game. And when LP was dominating, Jalen wasn't really having a reliable, consistent game. And I do feel like when Jalen was dominating, he was taking a lot of really hard fouls, falling in the air, and I literally seen Steven Adams catch players out the air. So
That's a lot.
to have that dominant, strong physicality, and I think that kind of unlocks Dylan Brooks in a type of way to have somebody he can literally look at as the muscle. Um, that's
Right.
going to help. And then with Terry Easton coming back, it's like, and the type of coach that Ime is, like we shouldn't be shy about fouling anybody. You know, if we foul you, it's going to hurt because we so deep that it's just like, bro, go out there and do your best and make them feel you because we got enough talent where we could really be an intimidating force just physically. You know, like if you come into the paint so, I think that we ain't even really show the league what it looks like when we put it together, and we got a couple people on the bench where once they start getting in the game, it's going to make a huge impact. And then as I was saying with practice, they all got to practice together. And Terry Easton's motor, if that rubs off a little bit on Cam, that could be incredible right then and there because you could be an incredible basketball player, but if you don't have the motor of Terry, he ain't gonna let you get no rebounds. He gonna be all over you. Like his work ethic alone can fatigue you and just turn you into a bum. So
Yeah, that's
people,
right.
if they really at practice going in, fighting for minutes, they're gonna be able to level each other up. And then, like Javari, let him get a little bit stronger and man, we got a lot to look forward to. And like you
Fact.
said, Ime, he don't hold no punches. So that's why I'm not nervous about us making the playoffs because if he feels like we need that on our team, he gonna go right to the front office and say, we need that. Bring in somebody who has that and can inject that personality into the rest of these young guys. Because if
Facts, bro.
so, yeah, that's my final take.
No, that's a great take. Devin, you in here twice, bro. But let me get to B Simpson. What's good, bro? What's good, B?
Hey,
What's
what's up,
what
G? What you doing?
chilling, bro? Chilling, bro. What's your grade on this year, man? How you feeling?
No, I mean, how I look overall, I mean, you got to be positive, right? I mean, any other year we wouldn't make the play in. So you got to rock with that. And just watching the overall development of the team, seeing, like you commented earlier, like, just watching Ime adjust to the injuries and the different styles of offense, right? So, I thought everybody kind of blew it out of proportion just because Sengun got hurt. We were running and gunning. Well, yeah, I mean, we got to switch it up, right? But watching it unfold as it did, and watching how Ime just on the fly implemented that run and gun offense was amazing to watch. The players overall developed a lot better than the past 2 seasons, 3 seasons, and I think that's the main reason we see the difference in wins, right? I know we wanted to tank so bad and get these players over the years, but we still could have focused a little bit more on player development. And maybe Jalen wouldn't keep having these up and down inconsistencies, right? If he had real legitimate player development from the jump, going out the gate. So that's the only thing I think we have messed up on the rebuild of so far is just not focusing on the player development from the beginning. Then you bring in, I don't want to bring up everybody's name, but KPJ, somebody like that, and giving him the keys a little bit. It felt like, and you weren't focusing on Jalen. You weren't focusing on Jalen. You weren't focusing on Jabari. You were focusing on KPJ. It was so bad that you actually had, the whole Bruno Fernando and Sagoon stat line or whatever. So there's just that whole part at the beginning that was hard to watch. That was tough to watch. But seeing it unfold now, yeah, it looks good. It looks good. It looks better than your horrible franchise rebuild, right? So, but at the same time, you can still look at it and say, "Golly, man. Well, if we would have focused more on Jalen, if we would have done this, maybe we'd be in a better position than we are now. Maybe we wouldn't. We don't know. Um, that's up for debate, but still, overall, I think it's a good season. It's definitely a success.
Yeah, I'm right there with you because even within the good season, there's still a lot they left on the table, honestly, in my opinion as well. And it's just what I call it is paying for the sins of the past, right? Like you pointed out, Ime probably had to do a lot of like breaking down players and rebuilding them, and doing that in the middle of an NBA season where you're competing with other players, competing against other teams, trying to make the playoffs is a tall order to ask for. So that's why I'm 41 wins. I think that's appropriate. I mean, I think most of us on this channel have them between 35 and 40 something, some a little more higher than that. They've hit that number, and they could have won a lot more games if they had better depth, if players just stepped up when they needed to. If injuries, obviously, with Tari, with Fred going down, Dylan going down. But I think, to me, bro, the biggest excitement I have, honestly, is just the culture that was laid. Because as we know, bro, being a top 10 defense in this league is so hard. There are teams that never even touch that level of defensive intensity in year after year. They're like outside looking in on that. And it's usually, if you're a top 10 defense and a middling offense, you're a playoff team. And I feel like the offensive identity of the team is still unclear because they have a lot of questions to answer about their style. But I think that we've got to see, like I said earlier, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I think Ime Udoka's next big thing is going to be building a top 15 offense. And, the defense is there. They can get better, but that offense needs to be on par, because in the NBA today, you got to be able to score. And I think that's where I'm going to be really watching this dude to see if he can be a elite coaches. Can they have a top 15 offense?
Yeah, but I mean, we could have an offensive coach to do that too, right? That really steps in and elevates the offense. That top 10 defense, man, I mean, with all them up and downs, right? With all the injuries, man, that's elite. That's consistent, right? You cannot argue that that's not coaching and consistency, right? So yeah, for sure. I mean, when it's all said and done, that's another reason why, probably the top 3 reason why the season was a success, right? Was the top 10 defense. And there's no doubt about it. That's something you can tip your cap on. That's something that's your culture builder. That's something that you have now, just installed in your team. And that's something you at least wanted to see a little bit of, even if we know the beginning coach is what do they call it? What's the term for it, Fred? That coach, that bridge coach, right? He's a bridge coach, right? So we know you're a bridge coach, but can you just kind of a little bit of development? Can we get anything out of you? Just left that the a lot of meat on the bone. But besides that, man, I really like it. I really like it. Jabari left some meat on the bone too, right? This year.
You're talking about this year?
Yeah, this year he left some meat on the bone, but he was consistent. That's what I did.
Yeah. I would say the consistency is probably what I appreciate from him, because if you remember last year, dude was really bad, bro. And for him just to be a neutral to slightly above positive player for like 80% of the season, to me, is a big win for him. And you heard, I don't know if you watched the post-game conference, they had kind of did like a exit interviews with some of the players. And basically he said that, one thing that he's happy that he was able to do this year is to feel like he's respected in the NBA. And to me, what that tells me is that dude was in a really dark place last year as a player.
It was bad, right? And that goes back to the player development. And that's something that Jalen Green dealt with for longer. So,
and that's one of the low-key, one of the reasons I'm so I'm low-key impressed with Jalen, even though he crashed out towards the end of the year, is the amount of scrutiny, a lot of it self-imposed, but even some that was out of his hands that he received this year, and to come out of it on the other side and still be like a player that is still, who you are, and you're going to keep doing what you do and keep progressing, showed a lot of mental fortitude for me that I didn't think personally he had in him.
Even with the
for this
social
year.
media stuff, right? I
That's the.
mean,
I'm talking about all that, bro. I'm talking
all of
about
it.
the J
Not
Gov video,
that was the
Oh man.
the baby mama
hold on,
drama.
the Josh Christopher stuff,
Yeah, all of that.
whose baby mama is his, and
All of that.
just
If
everything,
you
right? And then at the same time playing
And the bad
horrible.
play. And then he was playing bad. Like
Yeah, the
that's a
horrible
lot, bro,
play.
for a young dude, bro.
That's
Yeah.
horrible. And then break out of it like he did, not
Yeah.
just broke out of it for a few games, but for how he did it so consistently for such a long stretch. Now, obviously, towards the end here, we kind of it wasn't as good, but you could still see how he was playing on defense. The rebounding still there. Just this whole that part of the consistency I think was still there, but um, you could just see it in him, right? He's got it, right? You can see it now. He's got it. Now, are you going to max him out, rookie max? I'm
That's the
not.
question.
I'm not
That's the.
convinced I
I don't
can.
think
That's
he's. I don't think he's shown enough to do it outright. But to me, with the rookie situation, and Devin, I'll let you go next. Is that it's not necessarily always about how they play. There's a lot of factors about giving the max, what they call the fun max. You have to look at what other players in their class are getting. You have to look at also like, is it a tradable contract? And then also just team building. If you do give them that max, it's only a 25% max. So if you have
true.
50% of your salary tied up in Alperen Şengün and Jalen Green, is that really a bad thing? Whereas the real max, you're up to 35% to one player. So it still gives you a lot of flexibility. Then this year with the 50-year option for the non-designated rookie extensions, and what that means is back in the day, you could pick one player to be designated and get a 50-year option after their rookie salary is completed. It's a tool to allow teams to keep players. Now they've expanded that as a tool you could give to players that aren't max players, which is huge because now when you're trying to keep a Jabari Smith who probably isn't getting the max, and
Tari.
you want to, or Tari Eason or any of these guys, you want to entice them and say, hey, I know you can go out in free agency. They may give you a little bit more money, but I can give you a fifth year, bro. I got a fifth year for you. That's an additional 25 million in your pocket. You know what I mean? And so that's a tool that they could use to build out this team. I'm not of the belief that all six of our players are going to be like superstar. It's just not going to happen because to be a star, you need talent, which they all have. You also need opportunity. They're not going to have the opportunity. Once they make a decision, it's going to be like Jalen and Alpi two-man. Everybody else has to fill in as role players. That's just how the NBA works. It's just there's not going to be enough opportunity for Tari or Jabari to get a chance to shoot enough shots, to close out enough games, to run enough actions to show that they're superstar level on this team. And are they going to be okay with that? To me, their game has to really be the one. Amen Thompson is the only, to me, the only kind of odd man as far as that crowd. I think Amen can be a max player, in my opinion, because of his defense, his playmaking, and everything he does on the court. But before I get to you, Devin, real quick, let me read this super chat from my boy Thurgood. Thurgood says Jabari was putting up some good assists these last 10 games too. Him and Whitmore ended on a good note. And with that, I agree. Cam and Jabari definitely improved just as context players. Like they weren't just doing random stuff. Jabari, I liked how he ended off the year. He played, I mean, he had a lot of big games towards the end of the year. And I just want to see more from the team through him next year to find him a role. He is a third pick, man. We forget that
They
that's
started
a
at the
lot.
beginning of the year. Remember, Fred, when they were
Yeah,
actually running some more plays for him, right?
facts. Yep. Devin, you was about to say something. I think we cut you off like 5 times.
Now,
Go ahead.
not to your point about the contract situation. I was watching Gil's Arena the other day. They were on the topic of the Lakers and the Pistons, and kind of like today, you hear a lot of sports media, people say, you need at least a big two, and the Lakers back then, of course, Shaq and Kobe. The Pistons, they had at least five to six dudes who could put the ball in the hole, and not just depending on two people. I think we can kind of like follow that model in a way. You know what I mean? We have a lot of offense. A core six. Obviously, Sengun and Jalen. They could be our main duo, but I think with that core six, we can really separate ourselves from the rest of the rest of these teams who didn't build their teams organically. And for my second point, I was thinking about the first game of the year we played the Magic, and this game recently when we beat them. Of course, they didn't have Franz, but we didn't have our main guys. And just for Jalen and shorthand staff to pull off that win when we started off fully healthy, I think that's just a major sign of our growth. Because if you were to ask us if we were to win that game in the beginning of the year, I think a lot of us would be like, we don't have Alp, Tari, maybe Cam might been out with a knee injury. I think a lot of us would have marked that up as a L.
Now, good point. We got a mega, extremely super chat from Third Coast Alliance. Shout out to you, bro, with the $100. You're going to give me a new pair of shoes. No, I'm playing. But he says the CSG analytics desk stays undefeated. At the beginning of the season, I had us finishing between 38 and 42 wins, despite the injuries we sustained. We still managed to finish 41 and 41 for 500. Only 9 other teams went from losing 60 games to finishing above 500 the next season. I got to look that up and see what happened with those teams. But shout out to you for showing love, brother. Definitely appreciate all the super chats. And Third Coast, you've been a chat boss for a minute, and I definitely agree. I think that for most of us on this, like, we kind of saw what we saw. The way they got to these wins isn't ideal, right? We didn't necessarily need to have like this Super Saiyan year for us to be able to win these 41 games. We didn't have to go 13-2. I feel like they could have won more games in January and February, but we'll take it. We'll take it however we want it. I think one of the best aspects of this run that we had late was the importance of the games. Each game was a playoff, like especially leading up after the run in March when we got to the Dallas and the Minnesota and Golden State. Obviously, it didn't go the way we wanted, but I hope, and this is going to sound mean, but I hope that the pain of performing bad for our players in those games stings them all year. I hope that as guys were not playing up to par, they got punked, they were out rebounded, they were out out hustled a lot of those games. I hope that sting is something that sticks with them for the rest of the offseason, so that it makes them better going into next year, because those are the type of things to me that drive players to that next level. And that's when you get that shock. And I think Coach Udoka said it in previous years is one thing to be losing games, finishing out the year, coming out and being 19 wins, and you're going into the tank and you're going on vacation. But Coach Udoka said it like a lot of the guys on the team, the vets and him included, they're not used to stopping playing basketball in April. And that should be a message that should resonate in the locker room. Like, this is not acceptable. We're happy about the 41 wins. That's cute. But at the end of the day, we had one mission, bro. And we didn't meet that mission. What are you going to do about it in this offseason to make sure this never happens again? And I think that's the angle. If I was a coach, I'm going with them. Like, what are you going to do as an individual player to make sure that we're not going on vacation in April while your peers are playing? You know what I mean? While Paulo Banchero Jabari is out there in the playoffs, right? He's playing while your peer Jalen Green and Şengün, Evan Mobley is going to be in the playoffs. What are you going to do to make sure that you're not watching him from the house, right? While Gideon and Chet are in the playoffs. So that's, that stuff matters, bro. I'm huge on momentum and all this intangible stuff in basketball and sports and life, because I think that that's what it takes. That's why I was so low on Jalen in the middle of the season, as far as his upside, because he was playing soft. Playing mentally weak, but he was able to claw out of that hole. And even the fact he got so low and clawed out showed me a lot about his mentality. I'm big on that stuff. Y'all know me. I come on here and say I'm not going to check stats. I'm not doing all, because I already know with these young dudes, bro, the great players in any sport is all about the mindset, bro. If you're defeated in your mind, I don't give a damn how much talent you have. You're not going to make it in any league. So I'm appreciative of how much resolve a lot of these guys showed, because I feel like once they get past that barrier of the mentality part, and then the talent comes after that. What up, Kurt?
Hey, what up? How are you doing?
Doing all right, man. Successful season.
Man, how can we say it's not a successful season, bro? Like we went from 20 wins to 40, 50%, That's a crazy jump if you think about it that way. And I really got to shout out, Raphael Stone for piecing all of this together. No, wouldn't have done this without him. Wow. But yeah, if we look at individual players as well, I don't think any of them underperformed, Like look at Nate Williams this game. Man looks like Brandon Ingram out there. So and that's just one example. I'm just saying everyone on this team exceeded my expectations. So definitely big win. And next year is championship time.
Okay. You think we're gonna win a championship next year? From your mouth to God's ears, brother. Your mouth to God's ears, because I think they got a couple steps. What'd you say, Brandon?
I said, let's go. I mean, I don't see it next year, but hey, you never know. Let's go. This ain't football though.
No, that's a great point. But I think about the Stone situation. Yeah, I think Stone is he had a good year for GM. I think the hiring of Udoka is probably the best move he made, and then Udoka's kind of domino effect on a lot of the player acquisitions, because I think the plan for Stone was to get James Harden. But Udoka came and flipped the script pretty immediately as soon as he got hired. So I think knowing one thing I would say about leadership is you have to have the ability to delegate and trust smarter people around you. And this is not a shot at him. This is for Tillman, for anybody that's going to, like, if you want to be a boss, you got to put people around you that are better than you at what you do. And I think from that aspect, him being able to identify Udoka and empowering him to be able to build this roster, to put his imprint on the players, I think it was a big move. I think this offseason for Stone is going to be so crucial as far as the decisions he makes, along with Patrick Fertitta, who's also part of that brain trust.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Real quick, so I always thought, I mean, how much influence did Patrick and Tillman have? I mean, and Daddy have over the hiring of Ime? Because remember, because they said when Tillman said when he walked out, he said I wouldn't let him leave the building without a yes. So that means to me, ownership said they didn't leave it up to Stone to make that decision, right? That he's not leaving the building. We're hiring him no matter what. I don't care. That's our guy. Right. So I don't know if I'm going to give Stone all that credit. I know a lot of people do. I've made this argument on social media everywhere.
Right.
And they of course, they want to give Stone the credit. And I get it. He is the GM. So you got to give him something. But when I hear the owner say, what he says, or like, for instance, about the Wemby situation, are we tanking? What are we doing? You've seen him at the New Orleans party, right? He lets you know we were tanking. Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, because he's out of his element. He's tipsy. He lets you know how he feels. So, and that just lets you know that the GM is not controlling that. Okay.
Yeah, I think controlling that. There, I mean, obviously, you may be right. You're probably likely right, but I'm just gonna grant him the assumption of his role. That's what I'm doing, bro.
For sure. And, so, what about this lottery pick coming this year? This is a very interesting offseason. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna hold? We don't need no more young talent, right, Frank? What are we doing?
I'm trading that pick, bro. I ain't gonna hold you. If I can get a role player, either at the 2-guard position or at just a shooter, I'm trading that pick for it. And what I mean by
who'd you throw in there with it if it takes some extra?
I don't know if I might not, because I'm not trying to make
the bottom half of the roster is up for grabs, right? Tate, Landell,
all of that.
All them are, everybody knows that. Bullock,
even what's his face, Steven Adams' contract is tradable as well.
There you go.
Yeah, so I don't. To me, we need peripheral upgrades, because I unless there's an offer that is too good to be true, or to what's the Godfather offers that cannot be refused, whatever that term is from the Godfather.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
about. Like, to me, then if you see a player that is like a top 15, then you gotta go get it. You feel me? Because those guys don't come around too often, and sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And I don't think when it comes to that, really any player is essentially safe. Who's that? Is that you typing, Kurt?
Oh, my bad.
Okay, go ahead and mute up. But yeah, if to me that pick, a 9th pick in a weak draft, I mean, yeah, bro, go get you somebody, bro. Get somebody that could help us.
So I'm
That you
still in the
can
belief of
slot
like
in.
trading with the Nets. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm just saying
No,
trading
go
with the
ahead.
Nets might be the most beneficial just because, for instance, those pick swaps that we got from them, right? Those aren't beneficial to a lot of other teams because you're betting on who's going to be worse than who, right? So if you're just giving them those pick swaps back, those are now their picks. Those are more valuable to
Yeah.
them than anybody else in the league. So I just think overall, when you're talking about throwing in picks and players, the Nets would be the perfect situation. Not to mention, they really do got some talent over there, right? They got a lot of talented players over there that you could pick off of. They need a tank anyways. I don't know, but I mean, I know the ownership, we get it. We know how they act, but I don't know. Could anybody convince them to tank, Frank?
Man, you've heard of they're interviewing coaches right now. I saw Mike Budenholzer as one of the coaches that was a potential finalist for them.
They
A
trying to
bunch of
win.
a bunch of young coaches though. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel like their owner, Joe Tsai, he's been pretty stubborn about not tanking. And so if that's the case, and I think one thing, this is just me, I'm not speaking for anybody. I feel like Joe Tsai as a big mover in China, um, with his company that he made money on, being a Chinese company, I feel like the Rockets kind of have a tarnished image in China that may also have, to me, this is just my um, tinfoil like hat theory, that it may have an impact on them wanting to make just big deals or helping us out like
Yeah,
that.
I mean that kind of makes sense though, right? I mean, it kind of does. The only thing that kind of gives you the leverage is, what's his name? Morey's not here no more. But really,
Facts. Yeah.
but Stone was the guy underneath him the whole time, right? Stone was his protege. Stone has been here just as long as Morey, if not longer. Like, dude has always worked for the team. It's Tillman's little buddy too, right? So, um, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he was over there in China too, and they know who Stone is. Is my point.
Yeah, I'm not even sure, but that's just me. Y'all don't go around spreading rumors about China, but they pack me up for that. But I mean that's like I said, bro. I just know Joe Tsai's a proud man, and I feel like he feels some type of way about the deal. And for him to circle back and give us back our pick,
We'd have to take
it,
on Ben Simmons or some shit. That'd have to be.
yeah. Well, it'll just be like you basically, it's a double L for them. It's like
Yeah,
you get
for
a
sure.
player that dips out on you,
And
and
you're
you trade the farm for him, and then you back don't give. You
your
gotta
talent
go.
up for your picks back.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
Like you
yeah,
crawling back,
true,
basically, like help us out.
true.
So I think he got so much money that I think his ego, bro, that ego gonna keep him.
I feel that. I do feel that. Maybe you can pick a little something from there, but yeah. But anyways, back to the point is the off season for Stone, right? So who can we trade with? What can we get? What are we trying to upgrade? What are we trying to do? Right. I want to hear your
Yeah.
take on it.
I think for me to build this team out, what I would do is try to upgrade the bench players. I love the guys we had this year, scrappy bunch, but um, when we play against the Dallas Mavericks in the playoff situations, when we play against the Golden State Warriors in the playoff situations, the Minnesota Timberwolves of the world, it really does highlight the impact of having elite role players that these teams do. When I'm talking about elite role players, you see a guy like Nas Reed, he can come into your starting lineup and you don't skip a beat. You can see a guy on the Minnesota like Gilgeous Alexander, cousin, what's his name? Nikhil Alexander, one of the best on ball. His job is just to be a pest for the other team's ball handler. That's his job, and he does a damn good job at it. You look at these teams with Dallas, with the Gaffords of the world, the Maxi Klebers coming off the bench. These are guys that could start at other NBA teams, right? You got Chris Paul coming out on Golden State. Chris Paul could still start in the NBA, and the reason I'm saying all this is because our team is already young, so that's a handicap against us. We have a lot of talent, but we're young. Usually, with young teams, you need to have a veteran to be like a young team. You need to have a lot of depth, right? And if you're not as lucky as OKC is to have a lot of depth with just young guys that are really, really good at what they do, and be specialists, shooters, defenders, that you can trust them on every single night. they slice him up and step on the court, you're going to get 41% from that shooter. You know that for a damn fact. Like, you're going to get 41% every single night. I'm going to get elite defense from this guy, right? That's the type of player. So I love Aaron Holiday. I love Londell. I love Tate. You know what I mean? I love all these guys. But to me, they should be the end of our bench. I love Jeff Green, but they should be the end of the bench. The guys, they should be Boban right now.
For sure.
And we have real players that are actually like, oh man, this guy could start on this team, but he on the Rockets playing 6-man. Those are the type of players I would try to go after, not really the big name stars this year.
Yeah, totally agree, right? So, I mean, we're obviously not going to trade Sengun, Jalen, or anybody like that. That's just not conceivable. You'd be dumb to do that unless you're just trying to hurry up the rebuild, right? I wouldn't pull that trigger just yet. But obviously, you got to make a decision this year too on who you're extending. Right? What are you doing with Alp and Sengun this year? So that plays the influence to how much you're investing in them. You can do that at the All-Star break. You can really do it at the end of the year next year. You really don't have to. I mean, you don't have to, but obviously they're going to want to get paid. Then,
what would you? Let me ask you, B. Would you pay? Who are you paying? When are you paying?
Okay, so okay, let's clarify first before I make that decision. Let's clarify these new rules, right? So, what is it like? We can keep them 5 years, or I mean,
yeah, you could offer both of them. Well, if you want to,
I know the new rookie max deal. I know that part,
right?
But I don't know all the nuances of the other parts.
You can have multiple players with fifth-year options. Like if you want to make them the designated rookies, you can have 2, I think, on your roster from internal, and I think you could still add 1 from outside.
Yeah, you can have
the
2
rule
and add 1 from outside. Yeah, I know that part.
I think that's the upgrade. It used to be 1 and 1. That was one of the reasons that Ben Simmons couldn't be traded to like Miami.
Yeah, exactly. I know all that part of it. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you're doing that, are you going to pay Sengun and Jalen both the max? I would say no. I would give them both, undercut them just a little bit from that max and let them know, look, this is a team aspect here, right? Because we're going to ask our men. We're going to ask it kind of like the Astros theory. Everybody, we're asking you to take pay cuts, right? Everybody's going to have to take a pay cut if you want this thing to work. Now, who's going to do it? Who's not going to do it? Or who's going to fold? Who's not going to fold, right? That's really what it comes down to. Who is Stone going to fold and say, fuck it, I'm going to pay Jalen? God damn it. He's not going along with it, right? That's
my concern with that is, does Stone have the cojones to play that game?
Exactly. I don't think he does. That's been my concern.
I don't know. I'm trying to be nice to Stone. I'm gonna give him the assumption of the benefit, whatever that term is, but to me, that's that game you talking about is gonna be a risky one that could backfire if he doesn't have the cachet of a Sam Presti or the cachet of a whoever the elite GMs in the league. There's a lot of what's the guy that was in Boston that's in Utah now. There's some guys that they're cutthroat. That's what they do. They have enough.
Yes. Even Daryl Morey was that, right?
Daryl Morey, you know what I mean? But
he was that. He got played out. Everybody knew. We knew that as the beginning, right? I thought we all knew that. Like eventually his cards are going to get played out, right? The league's going to get. There would be memes about it, making jokes at Daryl Morey about eventually your cards are going to get played out, right? Like they're going to see you keep trying to fuck us, bro. Like no, we're done with you, and that's kind of what's happening already, I think.
But Stone has done the opposite of being somebody that's ingratiated himself to players as a player GM. That's more.
Yeah, you're right. Yes,
about so I don't. So that comes down to like, I don't know, bro. I'm so curious to see about that because that's going to tell me a lot if they let Jalen and Sengun go into the season unsigned, and prove it this year coming up. And prudent, like if you want to be prudent from the organization standpoint, that is the best thing to do, in my opinion. Is
could you get them both to take a little under the rookie max? Is my point. Or is I want to get a rookie max going to be too much involved?
You probably offer them something under. Obviously, it's negotiation. You start where you want, then work your way. You probably offer them something, man. The agent's probably gonna be like, "Nah, see you next year," and you kind of
wants to hear rookie max. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he wants to hear it.
Because at the end of the day, bro, you still want the phrase that's gonna be is that you let the front office and your agent deal with the contract stuff. Just hoop, Jalen. Just hoop, Sengun. and everything would take care of itself. But from the agent standpoint, they're thinking about it from injuries. They're thinking about it from anything that could happen. So a year is a long time. You've seen, like, if this was Şengün's 4th year and he's balling like he was, all-star considerations, and he was on track to get the max in his restricted free agency, and he got hurt, those conversations change, and that's kind of what you get concerned about.
Yeah, I think also not making the play-in and not being a presence in the playoffs makes a difference too, right? Like, hey, we didn't see you under the true pressure moments yet.
But yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons why I wanted the play-in so bad, because now you got to wait to see. I don't even know what. To me, the best option, the best ideal way all of this plays out is I think I forgot what the deadline is, like the first game or 5th game of the season for them to make a decision. At some point in October, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And maybe they use training camp as a gauge to see how they look. Do they come back in shape? Is Alp's ankle good? Is his shot consistent? Did he develop his body? Is he locked in? Like, and once you see them through the preseason training camp, you just pull the trigger. Or if you let them ride out to restricted free agency, you're just ready to pay whatever it is that the worst they can get is the max.
I mean, you're going into a DeAndre Ayton situation, basically.
Basically, the only problem is you could sour on the asset could sour on you, given the disrespect and blah 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 blah, like players feel. So it's going to be a chicken race to see who blinks first. One of the great storylines of this offseason, I'm here for it, because these are good problems to have. This is when all that crap, the tanking, all that stuff goes out the window. At this point, every single person in the franchise is judged on merits of their performance. The GM, ownership, players, coach, everybody, bro. No excuses. There's no more, well, no. This year, Stone has jobs to do. He's going to have to execute. Ime has to do certain things. He's going to have to execute. The players, the money's on the line. It gets real when money starts getting tossed around. You're going to see how much an organization love you when they got to pay you, bro. So all that stuff of potential for Jalen's class of players is going to be out the window this year. This year coming up, they're going to be judged strictly on on-court production.
Yeah, look,
and like
I'm sorry to interrupt one more time. Look, you were talking about your tinfoil hat, right?
Yeah.
So my tinfoil hat is, I think Ime and his weird ass lineups and shit that nobody can figure out. Why the fuck are you doing this? Obviously, we're not a better team at this point. Hey, he don't like Stone, man. He wants him gone, right? He's playing his cards right. He wants the guy gone. You know I don't like Stone. I ain't liked him from the jump, and I'm not going to switch it up. Like, you're not going to get me to switch it up. You can't. I don't care what this man does. Hey, put me to a fault. I don't care. Yeah, I'm not switching it up, bro. I didn't like you from the jump. I don't like your vibe. I don't like the way you look. I don't like your body language. I don't like nothing about you, G. So I want you out of there. And I really think that Ime could be, I mean, all them weird, wacky lineups. I mean, look. Then all of a sudden, right? All of a sudden, look, hear me out, Frank. All of a sudden, Şengün get hurt. Now, we know they started playing better after All-Star break, right? We already know that. Anybody didn't watch that game to game, they'll say that it was because of Şengün's injury. But after a couple games, after Şengün get hurt, he's like, all right, we're finna put it in full gear now. I'm finna handle up. And that's what he did. That's what he did. He handled up. He knew the schedule. He handled up. So I just think a little the game, just like we were talking about with signing Jalen and Şengün, is also Ime playing it with Stone. Right? Stone was here before Ime got here. He don't know this dude, bro. He ain't never met this dude in his life in NBA basketball on the street, nothing. He's gonna eventually want to bring in his GM. Any great coach that eventually is gonna want to bring in they dude to be the GM. And that's why I think maybe not this year, but I really think it could be this year. Everybody's talking about an extension. You ain't gonna see no Stone extension. You is not. I don't think Tillman's gonna do it.
I mean, those are all valid points, and I had that thought for some of the lineups, like Z silently protesting. I don't know, but I feel like Ime has a lot of power and sway in the organization, and I think what it's really going to come down to is what he wants, because I think he's proven himself to the Fertittas that you can trust him with your Rockets team. And I don't like the dynamic. Honestly, if I like alignment between GM, coach, and players. I don't know if that alignment is there 100%. I don't like my coach having too much power. Honestly, I like a certain level of authority from the general manager because it's kind
I
of
feel
checks
that.
and balances. You feel me? And it may come to an head at some point in the future. I think right now, if I'm Rafael Stone, I'm just happy that Ime Udoka is, because Ime Udoka covers up a lot of stuff. Like we've talked about earlier, the sins of the past. Thinking that just throwing the ball out and letting young guys hoop in an effort to tank was acceptable is almost criminal. You know what I mean? Almost cost a couple of these guys their careers. And now we get to rectify that by bringing in a good coach with good structures and good vets. And I think that's a plus for Rafael Stone. And I just think this season's been a positive for him because regardless of whether he did it, I don't know who did it. I don't really care. He gets, as the general manager in the position and the role, he has to get some of that credit. But now you get to see him, and he's made the statement that he leaves the seasons to the coaches. His assessment for him is an off season. So we get to assess what Mr. Stone gets to do. And I think I will personally give him the benefit of the doubt that he can execute whatever his plan was. Last offseason, the execution was not as great as we wanted, but we'll see what he does this year. The team has respect. He has a respected coach, interesting young players. You got some flexibility to be able to make some moves with some of these signings he did, which is a credit to him of structuring those contracts in a way that they're flexible and movable. Let's see what he does, because part of the tango of being in the NBA is not only that you have the space, guys have to want to come down and play. Right. And you have to sell the rest of the players something to come play for. Ime is that thing right now. Fred VanVleet having an efficient year is a selling point. Dylan Brooks, a guy
Is
that
Dylan
people were
gone? I think Dylan could be
nah,
gone, but
I
who's
don't
going
think
to take
Dylan's
that
gone.
contract? Nobody going to take that.
No, I don't think Dylan going, bro. Dylan is here at
So
least for
Jay's
a
got
year or two.
obviously. You got to
But
get rid
even
of Jay.
Dylan kind of rejuvenated his image here in Houston. I mean, even though he had his
Yeah.
moments, but he still looked like a
Right.
professional this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A meme out of him, but most of the time he kept his head down and just hooped.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes that's to a fault, right? You keep your head down and keep hooping, and bro, you just you're not really helping the team right now.
I
Starting,
mean, that's different. I'm talking
and
about
he's
like
not a guy
perception.
that you really want coming off the bench, neither. I mean, I guess
Yeah, I mean that's
you
a real
could have him
conversation.
coming off the
That's
bench,
real.
but I mean, for what? I mean, he ain't no offensive spark. He ain't no lockdown guy. I mean, he could be our Jay Sean Tate. He'll replace Jay Sean Tate, right? But for $20 million, that's a lot to replace Jay
But you
Sean
think
Tate
about
off
this,
the bench.
Brandon. Think about this, Brandon. Who's going to take 3 years guaranteed to Dylan Brooks?
Nobody.
You're going to have to add assets,
Yes, you're gonna have to give up.
whether in the form of a player or
Okay, so he's
pick.
here to stay.
So he's here. I think Well, the way I look at Dylan and Fred, bro, honestly, is between
Fred
the two of
actually
them.
surprised me. I mean, I know everybody remember that moment of the season we were looking for that clutch moment in our players, right? Like, man, we don't have no
Oh,
finisher, we don't
closer.
have no guy, right? And Fred's, I mean, he's supposed to be that guy, but actually, he will have moments where he has those moments, though. He does, right? He does have moments where he'll hit clutch shots time after time after time in that fourth quarter, or when a team's making a run late in the third or whatever. You just need that added firepower. That was before Jalen started chiming in, and doing his thing. But before that, it was just Fred trying to do it on his own, and obviously he can't do it on his own. So yeah, Jabari, he has his clutch moments. I do like his clutch. Obviously, he missed those.
Boy, Dylan hit a game winner though. Remember Memphis?
Yeah, he did. He had that good one. He did. That was at the beginning of the season. He had
And
that
the
one.
what game? OKC. He had some big shots in the
He
overtime.
did. No, he had one game where he had like 20 in like the third quarter or some shit.
Yeah.
He's had some games. Yeah, he has. He had like especially
But
at
I'm
the
with
beginning
you.
of the season.
I'm with you in this point that I think that there's going to be some.
He could be more consistent. That was my biggest thing signing him. His consistency.
Yeah.
And he showed the same fucking thing this year. Inconsistent. You started off the season looking nice, and you completely folded, bro, until the barely end. Like, come on, man.
The good thing we have two prime prospects that could play his position in Tari and Ahmed. So I'm not too worried. I see
Yeah,
him
that's
and
why I was
Fred as
wondering why
just
about signing him for 4 years,
hold
though,
on, hold
right?
on,
You
B.
signed a guy
Let
for
me
4
finish.
years.
Let me finish, B. I
Okay, go
see
ahead.
him
It's
and
on you.
Fred as $60 million in cap. Like they're just slotted there for if one of these young guys pops off like they're supposed to, that money just goes to them and they will be
No
moved
doubt.
on. So that's to me is I'm not too worried about his contract.
Yo, anyone there? Is it just me here? Yo, what happened, bro? Yo, I guess it's my show now. I really hate to take over, but it seems like it. So let's talk about the Lakers, right? So you think they make it past the play-ins or not? Type it in chat. Because honestly, the West is so competitive right now, you just don't know what's gonna happen. And I feel like the Timberwolves really got a shot at the, at the champ at like at a ring this year. But you really don't know because you got like the Kings who are at ninth, but I think the Kings got a solid shot. Um, I don't know, but in the East, I think it's the Celtics for sure. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the chat. But anyways, I really think we should keep our bench players because look at Jock Landale, bro. Man looks like a baby Shingun out there. I think he's a keeper. Um, Reggie Bullock, he heats up sometimes. He reminds me of Garrison Matthews, if y'all remember him. So yeah, I think he can really be the microwave player, on the team. But man, I really like Fred. I really love Fred VanVleet. You know who he reminds me of? DJ Augustine, bro. Man, I know the casuals don't even know who he is, but DJ Augustine is the guy. I don't think he's still in the league anymore, but Fred VanVleet does give me that vibe. And that's who we need right now. A veteran point guard who can, get the offense running when none of our young guys, get it going. Sorry, I'm not so good at rambling, so I'm gonna stop right here. Man, y'all asking me to get banned right now? Oh shit. I'm not trying to get in trouble here. Honestly, it's almost my bedtime, so I think I gotta go soon. In fact, I'm changing into my PJs right now.
All right, man. I don't know what Kurt was talking about, but appreciate y'all, man. I'm about to shut it down. Hopefully, Kurt, you held it down for the chop shop, bro. You wasn't on here on the weirdo stuff, were you?
Oh yeah, nah. I just I kept the chat and
All right, appreciate
in
that.
chat.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. My internet is on 123 Cancun time, but appreciate y'all. Sorry about the disconnection. Space should be back soon. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate Brandon, Mayu, KP, and Charlie tried to come up, got clapped a couple times. B Simpson, of course. I know what is this, Kurt? You're sharing calculus homework. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I'm just showing the graph of
Oh Lord.
our downfall last season.
Okay. All right, man. Well, successful season. I would say the season was a success. We'll have a lot of content over the summer. Shout out to all the CSGs, all the contributors for what they did. Dustin, appreciate you showing love to the CSGs in LA, man. Appreciate that, man.